Pre-show hype?
I don't think anybody can hear us, can they? I'm hoping that everything's fine with Chris because I definitely couldn't hear him there at the end.
Yeah, no, I don't know. We'll find out, I suppose.
It'd be me and you, brother.
Yeah. And Chris just sitting there with his thumb up his butt.
Unreal, man.
Oh my God, that is funny. Oh, Lordy Lou.
You sound really good. Like your audio,
Thanks,
you sound
man.
like whatever. I don't know if you got a different microphone or something, but you sound amazing.
It's the setting, and it's how I have the microphone itself oriented. I feel like I'm floating on a cloud right now, you know?
Dude, you sound great.
Thanks, man. You look great.
Thanks, man.
I got you. What do you think Chris is doing right now?
God only knows. Hopefully popping popcorn and getting a water.
I believe Chris is having some technical difficulties.
Yeah, we can't hear Chris, but Kyle, I can certainly hear you.
What a bummer. Chris is just going to have to miss week 1 of college football. I can't imagine.
You hate
Guys,
to
I have
see
such
it,
good
but-
bets. I'm not missing week 1. Are you
is.
kidding me? I'm not missing week 1. Are you kidding me? I have too many good bets
Man.
this week to miss week 1. You guys can't get rid of me that easily. Welcome in to the Money Down presented by BetPrep here on the Draft Network YouTube channel. Chris Schubert, Kyle Krabs, Joe Marino here for the next hour to get you ready for week 1 of the college football season. Guys, it's here. We've waited long enough. By the way, gentlemen, we did not coordinate this. I love that you two guys have the gray polo on. I've got the off-color black polo. It's a good aesthetic here for the first week of the show.
This guy's being dudes.
Yeah, look, you look good, you feel good, you play good, right?
That's what they say. That's what they say.
So for us, it's look good, feel good, bet good. That should be our motto here on this show?
That'd be great. I'd settle for betting okay.
Good.
We'll find out. I feel good about this week, though. A lot of research went into, obviously the Money Down. We're really excited about it. And I can honestly say I did more research for this weekend of college football than I've ever done in my entire life.
Well, then let's put that research to the test here, Kyle. Let's talk about some of these games here. A lot of games to get into here over the course of the show. To give you guys a little bit of a brief rundown of what we're going to do. A lot of top 25 matchups we're going to dedicate the first half of the show to. We'll have Patrick Everson from BetPrep joining us a little bit later on in the show. And then to close the show, it's the Go for Two segment, our bold bets of the week. Lots of stuff, leaderboards and all. We're going to keep track of everything that we are doing here on the show. So should be a lot of fun. Guys, let's jump right into the first game on the schedule for us to talk about here today, and that is Penn State, Wisconsin. You see the numbers down there below. Are we talking about a bounce-back season here for Penn State? And Kyle, I'll start with you. This is your region, right? The Big Ten, your scouting region for the Draft Network. So when you look at this marquee Big Ten matchup here today, what stands out to you early in the early goings?
Yeah, you see the game trends there. Penn State 4-0 against their last 4 games against the spread. And I think what really stands out to me is this past season was a tale of two halves for Penn State. They started out 0-5 for the first time in franchise history. They were 0-5. They had their first losing season since 2004, and they really righted the ship down the stretch. They've made a lot of coaching changes, coordinators kind of being swapped in and out on both sides of the football, really trying to invigorate some more simplicity, let the guys play faster. But for me, I look at this game, and I do feel like Wisconsin, between playing at home and having a talent advantage, it's really hard for me to get off of Wisconsin potentially bucking both of these trends here on the game trends, with Penn State 4-0 in their last 4 against the spread and Wisconsin 0-4 against the spread.
Joe had that smile on his face while you were talking there, like he was nodding in agreement with everything that you were saying. So, Joe, before we make our official pick for this game, how do you square up this matchup?
You know, I really look at the Wisconsin side of things, and I'm excited to see Graham Mertz back at quarterback. He had such a great debut last year against Illinois, 20-21, 248 yards, 5 touchdowns. The next week he gets injured against Michigan, and he wasn't the same. And I thought Wisconsin's offense last year struggled a lot, 88th in scoring, 103 in yards, but defensively they were terrific. Number 5 defense in the country last year, a top 5 run defense, and almost all of that unit is back. 8 starters back now. Leo Chenal was included among those 8 starters, and now we just found out that he's not going to be available for the game today. But I still think that they have a ton of talent, particularly in the middle of that defense. Jack Sanborn's still there at linebacker. Keanu Bentu at defensive tackle is a monster in the middle. And so while Penn State might want to come out and run the football, I think Wisconsin's going to be able to handle that up the middle with what they're bringing back.
And just real quick to get into some of the talent side of this, I think both sides of the football, the defensive unit is their better unit. And what scares me from a talent perspective for Penn State is, yes, you're bringing back your starting quarterback last year in Sean Clifford, but he's playing in a new system, and I understand it's a quarterback-friendly system, but he's going against a Jim Leonhard defense that has a lot of those key pieces that Joe had mentioned back. They have experience in the back 7, and I don't feel really good about the Penn State wide receivers outside of Jahan Dotson, who I know Joe Marino has major crush on. Outside of Jahan Dotson, I just don't know that they have enough pieces to really threaten. And Sean Clifford really took a big step backwards last year as far as ball security and consistency and the amount of turnover-worthy plays that he had against a Jim Leonhard defense. Like, that's going to be really tough. And then I look at the other side, and Wisconsin's got Mertz back throwing to Danny Davis and Kendrick Pryor and Jake Ferguson at tight end. And they got Ches Malusi, who transferred in from Clemson. He's been praised for his consistency throughout the summer. So I think Wisconsin being at home, Wisconsin having an advantage at quarterback, and I think Wisconsin having more appealing, well-rounded pieces to threaten Penn State's strength on the defensive side of the football, that's kind of where I lean right now. The question is, of course, what this line sits at, whether or not I feel good with that.
So, since you teased us and you set it up, let's make our picks. And listen, we're going to go in order on this. Kyle's going to make his pick first, then me, then Joe. So everybody's on the same page. We're not going out of order. This is the way that this is going to go. So Kyle, it's up to you. You can take the spread in this game. You can take the total. You just have to take something from this football game. So after all we just talked about, what's the pick? You got a nice little box to present your pick here. What's going in there?
I'm going Wisconsin minus 5.5 at home. Give it to me. I think they'll take care of business. If it was 6.5, I'd feel a little less leery, but I'm getting less than 2 field goals. I like my chances.
This is a team returning 8 starters on defense, a team that was really good on defense a year ago. You mentioned the new offensive coordinator there, and Penn State's going to take a little bit for them to figure it out. I will also lay the points with Wisconsin.
Bucky, let's go.
Penn State, you can have the 5.5. It's all yours. Joe, is it a clean sweep for game number 1 here on the Money Down?
Yeah, Wisconsin covers 5.5. They're at home. They have the better quarterback. They're stout on defense. Penn State comes in with a new offensive coordinator. Tough week 1 road contest. I think Wisconsin has better overall coaching. So give me the Badgers to win and cover.
Law of averages.
We got a lot of games to get to. We got to rapid fire through a couple of these. Next game up, Oklahoma at Tulane, technically, if you look at it on the schedule, but the game not in Tulane, going to be in Norman. And I thought it was a really cool look what the Oklahoma field staff did in painting the middle of the field with those Tulane those Tulane colors. So, guys, when you look at this game, there's a lot of talk about this number 2 ranked team in the country in Oklahoma. You have a team that has got college football playoff aspirations. They have a quarterback with Heisman aspirations. We'll get to that a little bit later in the show. Joe, I'll start here with you. When you look at this game for Oklahoma, this is about setting the tempo and setting their season up for success right here in week 1.
Oh, absolutely. Coming in as the number 2 team in the nation and probably feel a little bit disrespected that they weren't a playoff team last year. This offense presents a lot of problems. Spencer Rattler at quarterback, he has the arm talent to challenge every part of the field. They might have the best running back duo in college football in Eric Gray and Kennedy Brooks. There's experience on this offensive line. Their receivers are back, and I know that the receivers weren't necessarily what they've been in the past, but I think Marvin Mims, in his next year, he's primed to be one of the breakout stars in college football. He had 37 catches, 610 yards, 9 touchdowns last year. They get Jadon Hazelwood back from a torn ACL. They bring in Mike Woods from Arkansas. And so offensively, this team is going to come out and be ready to make a statement. And obviously, Spencer Rattler has high aspirations to be potentially the Heisman Trophy winner, potentially the number 1 pick in the draft. And defensively, this is the most I've liked in Oklahoma defense in a long time. I think this is the most talent they've had under Lincoln Riley. 9 returning starters from a defense that was top 30 in the nation last year. And that's good for Oklahoma. They got some guys up front, Nick Bonito, Isaiah Thomas, Perrion Winfrey. They can all make plays in the backfield. So I'm thinking that this Oklahoma team's ready to come out and make a statement here in week 1.
Kyle, you said right as we went live, you've done more research than in any other time. Tell me about Tulane. What did the research tell you about this Tulane team?
It told me they lost their 2 best defensive players in Patrick Johnson and Cameron Sample to the NFL draft this past year. And you think about some of the adverse conditions building up to this game, the fact that Oklahoma now gets effectively a free home game, even though it's not going to say that on the schedule. Oklahoma's got 6 of the TDN top 100 prospects. Joe mentioned they are loaded, and it's not just the offensive side of the ball. So I respect what Tulane's going to bring to the table. I think this would not be if we were doing confidence points. I wouldn't have 31.5 as a super high confidence points bet, presuming I'm taking Oklahoma. But
yeah,
Oklahoma has
there,
so much
Kyle.
talent, and they've got so much to prove. So that, for me, is the biggest storyline in this game. Is Oklahoma is loaded, and they got a free home game, and Tulane's entire pregame routine has totally been thrown out of whack.
Well, Kyle, I you know what? We're not even going to put your box up because we know what you're picking. You've gone with Oklahoma minus 31.5. I'm going a different direction for this game. Give me the over in this football game. This is an Oklahoma team that last season scored more than 50 points at least 4 times. They scored at least 40 points 6 times last season. They're going to make a statement in week 1. I'm going with the over in this football game. Joe?
Yeah, 31.5 that Oklahoma has to cover?
32 now.
Oh, man, It's a lot of points, and that scares me. But I'm buying in on Oklahoma coming out and making this statement. Give me the win. Give me the cover. Offensive firepower is just too much to deal with for Tulane. Oklahoma 7-3 against the spread last year, and I think the dynamics of this game really tip the scales in favor of the Sooners.
I think when you look at this entire college slate of action here, at least in the top 25, it's Georgia Clemson, and we're going to get to that game a little bit later on. But the game that's in that number 2 spot, Alabama, Miami, and this game is a good one. And the way we'll do this, Kyle, you can talk about whatever you want to talk about in this game. Give your pick at the end. Alabama at Miami. You're looking at an Alabama team favored by 19.5. I think the total 61 at the last time that I looked. So where are you going in this one?
So the big concern for me for Alabama, right, is you're coming off a national championship, a lot of high expectations. You lost Mac Jones, Jalen Waddle, Alex Leatherwood, and Devontae Smith as first-round picks. And, oh, by the way, that's just the offensive side of the football, right? Like, they lost talent on both sides of the ball, too. Patrick Surtain is a top 10 overall pick. That's the big question. And nearly a 3-touchdown line is a big line. But at the same time, I do think about how they're constructed to play. And I think the fascinating storyline here is You have a transition in offensive coordinator at Alabama, and Bill O'Brien coming in, kind of running that ship a little bit. What they're able to do to Miami running the football, I think, is really going to dictate how well this game goes and how big the lead gets, assuming Alabama dictates the line of scrimmage the way that a lot of people expect them to. So for me, that is the primary storyline, is Alabama's evolving offense, Bryce Young now at the helm. What does that look like? How effectively can they hit the ground running? Perhaps pun intended.
So what's the pick, Kyle? We lay in the 19.5. We're all in.
I'm taking Alabama with the points. Plus or minus 19.5. Think about the last time that the Air King played a top-tier playoff caliber defense. It was Clemson last year. It was 12 of 28 for 121 passing yards and 2 interceptions. Alabama's got more talent than that. I think they're going to beat them up front. I just don't think they'll score enough points.
My box is going to look very similar to Kyle's box on this one. I'm also going to lay the 19.5 here with Alabama. I just think there's too much talent on this side of the ball, and this Nick Saban team is very good in these neutral site environments. And so I'll take Alabama. I'll lay the 19.5, and we'll just move on. Joe, another clean sweep for the show here.
Well, unless Bryce Young flops at quarterback, I expect Bama to be Bama again this year. Defensively, they're returning a lot of talent, literally everyone in the front seven, a couple of new corners, but for the most part, that defense is intact. So I like Alabama to win and cover. The Tide knows about playing in Atlanta, and Miami just 5-6 against the spread last year. And we just haven't seen Miami meet a moment like this in a long time. Roll Tide.
Our next game up. Kyle, this is another one right in your backyard. Indiana at Iowa, another Big Ten matchup. And I think I'm just going to predict ahead of time. I think there's going to be some disagreement here amongst the show on this one. So, Kyle, where are you going here? Indiana at Iowa.
Yeah, I think the primary storyline here is how good Michael Penix Jr. plays. He took Ohio State to the wire last year. He beat Penn State in overtime in a thriller, tore his ACL. He's bouncing back, but they do have 4 returning starters on the offensive line. They got a couple talented pass catchers. Ty Freifogel, DJ Matthews transferred in from Florida State. 6'4" wide receiver Miles Marshall is a guy who popped a little bit on tape last year. And for me, I think there's a big mismatch with Micah McFadden at linebacker and his ability to blitz against Iowa. I don't like these Iowa wide receivers. They lost their top 2 pass catchers last year in Emir Smith-Marset and Brandon Smith. All of that combined with the fact that I do think that the Kinnick magic will be marginalized because this is not a prime time game. You always see Iowa pull some magic out of a hat when they're playing at home in the nighttime slate. This is not the nighttime slate. I like the direction of Coach Allen's program. I'm going to go ahead and bet on Indiana getting the 3.5 points in this contest.
I told you, I made a promise that there was going to be disagreement here during this game. Give me Iowa. Give me Iowa. You can take the 3.5, Indiana. You can have it. It's all yours, okay? It just you want 4.5, you can take 4.5 points. I don't even care. This is a tough place to play. You talk about this magic at night. I don't care. It's still a tough place to play. They're bringing back a running back in Tyler Goodson, a defense, 10 upperclassmen starting on that defense. I will take Iowa at home. You can have the 3.5. Joe? Don't give me that look, Joe. Somebody's got to do it.
Listen, Shuby. The Hoosiers were 10-2 last year with Michael Penix at quarterback. They hung 36 on Penn State, 38 on Michigan, 35 on Ohio State before Penix got injured. 9 starters back on defense. And this Iowa team, I just don't trust what they have offensively. I think Spencer Precious is a below-average quarterback. And defensively, they're a great unit, like statistically, but you have to remember they relied on takeaways, right? 18 takeaways in 8 games last year. 3 defensive touchdowns, a lot of new faces in that front 7. Give me Indiana to win this game outright. Hoosiers 7-1 against the spread last year, brother.
Speaking my language.
I will be on this island all by myself, and we will revisit this in week 2. Okay, I got a bunch of producers in my ear. They're telling me to speed this along. So this next game, we got Miami of Ohio, Cincinnati. I just want to pick here. I just want whatever pick you're going with in this spot. And it pains me that we're not going to get to talk about the Cincinnati team a whole lot. But Kyle, very quickly, your pick for this one.
Yeah, Cincinnati's won the last 14 in this rivalry by an average of 20 points. Give me Cincinnati minus 23.
If there's one thing Joe Marino knows about me, it's how much I love this Cincinnati team this season. So you can put the logo down there. I'll lay the 23.5. This is the start of a big-time campaign for Cincinnati.
Yeah, I got Cincinnati covering as well here. These two teams played back in 2019. The Bearcats won 35-13. I think Cincinnati's a better team now, and we don't really know that much about Miami of Ohio after only playing three games last year.
We got a quick break that we have to take, but when we come back, listen, you didn't think we would get through the whole hour of this show without talking about Georgia and Clemson. We got that, 2 more top 25 matchups to get to, maybe a little Heisman talk as well coming up next here on the Money Down presented by BetPrep.
Hey, Houston fans, this is my first crack at the 2022 NFL mock draft. I have a long ways to go, but it's always good to do these in preparation of the season. Last year was a little bit of a tough year for you guys. Obviously, this past off season, got the new GM, got the new head coach, Deshaun Watson situation. But, looking ahead, I went ahead and gave you guys who I think is going to be the best quarterback in next year's class, and that's Oklahoma, Spencer Rattler. Rattler has an exciting arm. He's really creative in the pocket. He's a playmaker, a gunslinger, who I believe Nick Caserio can build a really good team around. He's the kind of guy who has some Mahomes-esque in his game, just in terms of the off-platform throws, the willingness to stretch the ball down the field. I think there's a lot to work with Spencer Rattler. I think he has some things to work on in terms of his technique and consistency in the pocket, but the upside is there to make him the number 1 overall pick in the newest Houston Texans. Thank you guys for watching my mock draft. Please make sure you like and subscribe down below. Leave me some comments. What do you think? You love it? You hate it? Let me know, man. It's all good. Let me know.
Here on the Draft Network YouTube channel. 3 more games to get to here in this block, gentlemen. Are we ready? Are we prepared for these 3 games?
Real quick.
Okay,
Brentley's
it better
crazy
be real quick. We got a lot of stuff to get to here.
I understand that. I just want to shout out Brentley. Brentley's a psycho asking for feedback on a mock draft on YouTube. You kidding? Holy Brentley, come on, man.
Sources close to the situation say we might see somebody on this show in the next commercial break talking about their mock draft. Maybe, just maybe. I don't know. Sources close to the situation say that it could be happening. Okay, 3 more games to get to here in this section, and there's nothing that I know Kyle Krabs enjoys more than talking about the lovely Texas Longhorns. ULL at Texas in this one, the debut for Steve Sarkisian. Kyle, when you look at this matchup, and I don't want to have the very yearly conversation of, is Texas back? I don't want to do that here on the show, but there are different expectations for this team with a new coaching staff coming in. So when you look at this matchup, it's a top 25 matchup for this Big 12 team to start the season. What are you looking for in this football game from Texas?
Yeah, I think the opportunity of Steve Sarkisian to get his hands on the Texas Longhorns and the talent that's been recruited there's been a little question that Texas has talent. It's the putting pieces of the puzzle together that is the big mystery. And I think they've drawn a fascinating first opportunity to play under Sarkisian and playing against the Raging Cajuns, who are bringing back 20 starters from last year's team. Quarterback Levi Lewis is a lot of fun. They score points. This line, guys, started at minus 16 and has steadily dwindled. All 5 starters on the offensive line back for Louisiana. I think there's going to be points here. The question is how many big plays does Texas create against a defense that was fairly effective against the pass last year? And if that's going to happen, explosive plays, I think it's going to have to come from Bijan Robinson in the running game for Texas.
You don't have to talk to me about Bijan Robinson here from the state of Arizona. Was just a freak in high school. I will tell you, Bijan Robinson played down in Tucson. Everybody knows I live in the greater Phoenix area. This kid was the talk of high school football week in and week out for what he was doing down there. He's gonna have a monster career in Texas, and I know he had a decent season last year, but I think it's going to be full speed ahead for him. Joe, your thoughts on this matchup here? A new quarterback for Texas, right? For the first time since the 2017, I think it was the Texas Bowl, in which Sam Ehlinger took over as the starter. This is uncharted territory for this Texas team in a really long time.
You said a decent first season at Texas for Bijan Robinson. I mean, the guy only broke the record for yards per carry at the University of Texas, and they've had good running backs, 8.2
just a couple,
yards per carry. Dude, his last two games last year against Kansas State and Colorado, 443 yards from scrimmage, 6 touchdowns, and 18.5 yards per touch. Yes, I said that correctly. This Louisiana team is no slouch, though. They're ranked 23 in the nation for a reason. Kyle mentioned Levi Lewis, back at quarterback for a third season. Continuity is the name of the game for them. Like you said, 20 starters. The coaching staff remains intact going into their fourth seasons. And so while I think it's easy to get drawn up into the Sark storylines and Hudson Card and his first start at quarterback and Robinson and what this defense is going to look like, Paul Kwiatkowski's now their defensive coordinator. He's going to be aggressive with their pressure packages. But I don't think we should be sleeping on Louisiana and what they are as a program.
Before we make our official picks, I want to add a statistic to back Joe up here. This Louisiana team last season, 0.82 sacks per game they allowed. That was 7th best in the country. So they protect their quarterback really well. That's going to be important. All right, Kyle. This line is 9. Texas giving 9 points at home. Over under 58. It's going to be a loud building down there in Texas. Where are you going in this one?
Yeah, like I said, this line started a lot higher than 9, and I think it's moving in the right direction for a reason. I understand Sark debut. It's going to be a big, sexy opportunity to get out there and score some points, but Louisiana's going to score some points too, and I think they're going to keep this thing close. Give me them taking the points.
No. All right, it's week 1, everybody. I can already tell you that Kyle and I are going to be at odds each and every week here on the show. And I'm not going to do this often, so the social media team, clip this because it's the only time you're going to get it. Give me Texas minus the 9. It's the only time you're getting it. They're going to be horns down a lot this season. It's the only time you're getting it. Joe?
I thought this was going to be mine and Kyle's first disagreement, but I'm taking Louisiana to points.
Look,
they came out week 1 last year, and they made a statement with a 31-14 win over Iowa State. The continuity is everywhere with Louisiana, and everything's new with Texas. And I don't think the Longhorns win by 2 scores. They might win, but not by 2 scores.
All right, guys, we've teased it all throughout the course of the show. It's the matchup that everyone's got circled here. It is Georgia. It is Clemson. It is a rivalry. This is a big deal. This is a neutral site game. You see those trends over there on the right side of your screen. Clemson 13-4 against the spread in neutral site games under Dabo Swinney. Kyle, this is a quarterback matchup, I think, is where you have to start with this conversation with these two programs. Offense aplenty in this one, I think, but let's break this matchup down. I think this is going to be – we don't get a lot of these 2 top 5 programs going head-to-head here in week 1, so this one should be enjoyable.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of fireworks here, and between JT Daniels and DJ Uiagalelei, who had an opportunity to collect a couple of starts respectively last year for their respective teams, I think that kind of softens the blow of seeing the changes that are taking places in both offenses. For JT Daniels, you do have to be a little worried about the fact that you're not going to have George Pickens, who you literally just fed the football to left and right in the 4 games that you played last year and really helped elevate Pickens in his stock. But for Uiagalelei, I think about them losing Travis Etienne. They get Justin Ross back. Is that going to be enough to kind of help this offense continue to hum? There's big questions for both of these offenses, but the quarterbacks aren't one of them. I think both of these quarterbacks are high-level college quarterbacks. It's just a question of what's around them. And more specifically for me, you got Kirby Smart and Brett Venables. What are they cooking up after an entire offseason and get ready for this football game?
And Joe, you're the ACC guy, so I'll go to you for this question. When you look at this Clemson team, I think a lot's going to be made of what these defenses are able to do to shut down these 2 offenses. What's your anticipation defensively in this football game?
I think defensively and from the Clemson perspective, the Tigers are as good as they've ever been under Dabo Swinney in terms of talent on that defensive side of the football. The defensive line itself is just unbelievably talented with Miles Murphy and Brian Brees, Tyler Davis, Xavier Thomas, all the 5-star recruits you can imagine. They have veterans at linebacker in Balin Spector and James Skalski, and they have an experienced secondary. Literally everyone from that secondary is back. I know that Darian Kendrick was a starter for them last year, but they rotated him in and out. They have a lot of experience in the secondary, and I really buy into what they're going to be able to do defensively. On the Georgia side of things, they've only got 4 starters back. It's a brand new secondary outside of Lewis Sine. Tyke Smith, he's not available today. Now, they have some horses up front, and Adam Anderson, a really dynamic pass rusher. Jordan Davis is a tank in the middle of that defense. I really like Nakobe Dean, their linebacker. But for a Clemson offense that I think can put up video game numbers in the passing game, now we'll see what it looks like without the same level of running back talent that they've had with Travis Etienne. I think DJ Uiagalelei and the young pass catchers that they have and the good tight ends that they have, they're going to be able to throw the football. And Georgia's got a lot of questions on that defense right now.
Kyle, your pick for this one.
I think that the defensive coaches are really going to be able to keep the intrigue here in this game. This is going to be a closely contested game, and I have less conviction about the spread as I do about the over-under. And I think these two defenses are really going to control the line of scrimmage. And because of that, I'm taking the under as the total here for this contest between Georgia and Clemson.
Everybody, gather nice and close to your tablet, laptop, cell phone, whatever you're using to watch this lovely stream. I told you earlier that Kyle and I were going to be at odds this season. I didn't think it was going to happen this quickly. Give me the over in this football game. Are you kidding me with these two offenses? The firepower here, 51.5. Kyle, it moved in the other direction. It opened it, I think, at like 50.5. It's moving in that direction. Listen, I think the defense, Joe mentioned earlier, some new starters there on defense, and I think the offensive firepower is too much in this one. So give me the offenses in this one. I'll take the over at 51.5. And Kyle, we're doing battle early in the season.
Give me Clemson -3. I think that they win this game. They cover. The Tigers know about playing in Charlotte. The passing offense versus a brand new Georgia secondary is the difference in this game. And Clemson has to have this one. They got a really soft schedule the rest of the way. And they need to come out and prove that they are among the elite teams in college football. And this team, you mentioned how good they've been in neutral sites against the spread, but Clemson's lost 3 of its last 5 against top 10 teams. This team needs to make a statement, and I'm buying in on it.
Yeah, it's Joe. I don't care if they win or lose. I just care if they get to the 51.5 number. And Kyle, did you like that? He didn't pick sides on that one. He just went a totally different direction. He's like, yeah,
Switzerland. They stayed out of it.
Not interested. Last game we're going to feature here in the marquee matchups: LSU, UCLA. Love the graphics department there for the go time in Pasadena. Very great work there. This is a UCLA team that we've seen play this season, and I think that's what's driving a lot of the buzz and hype around this team, Kyle, is we've seen them play. Yes, it was against a Hawaii team, but it has set up a big-time matchup here in Pasadena here against LSU.
Yeah, and a lot of the same things that were applied to the Raging Cajuns in their game is applied to LSU. You know, their practice schedule, they were in Houston and before traveling out to Pasadena for the game. And just the fact that LSU, they're also changing both offensive and defensive coordinators this year. Bo Pelini relieved of his duties and Ensinger retired. I really don't like that vibe, if we're being honest, for LSU. Now, the advantage that they have is they're an SEC program. They're going to be more physical. They have better size. You would presume they're going to have more speed. I think there's really compelling storylines on both sides of this game. And I like that this is a close spread because I think it is going to be a close game.
Just a quick correction before we go to Joe. We have given, we just changed. We gave UCLA, we didn't give them their win last week. We gave it to LSU. That's not true. UCLA won that football game. Joe, when you look at this matchup here, and I look at this from the Pac-12 perspective, considering my background, UCLA getting a little bit of love in the preseason to potentially win the South. They certainly, with the way that they played against Hawaii, kind of have pushed that a little bit. You look at this matchup, this is a big test for this team against LSU. I think if they get through this football game and they come out of the other side with a win, a lot of people are going to start talking about them a little bit more in the Pac-12.
Well, it's good to see the Bruins start strong, right? That's kind of been their issue in recent years. And they came out with a statement win over Hawaii, and you could put whatever level of stock that you want into a 44-10 win over Hawaii. And the big story of that game being how well they ran the football. And this is going to be a tougher challenge. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball against LSU like they did against Hawaii or even close to it. I mean, defensively, LSU really struggled last year, and they had a lot of transition, a lot of change on that team, but they learned a lot. They grew a lot through what happened last year, and there's a lot of talent on that defense, and they have the best corner tandem, in my mind, in college football in Derek Stingley and Eli Ricks. And so if UCLA has to throw the football more in this game to win, I think it's going to be a much tougher assignment. The Tigers have some nice pass rushers, and I really like their linebackers, and Mike Jones, a Clemson transfer, and Damon Clark at linebacker. I think those guys are going to be able to counter what UCLA proved last week running the football. So this is definitely a really different matchup. I think it's beneficial to UCLA that they've played a game. That's going to give them certainly an advantage, and they're at home. But I'm not sleeping on LSU and a new quarterback this year, Max Johnson, who's Brad Johnson's son. He can throw the ball and run it a little bit. An experienced offensive line, budding star at receiver, and Keyshawn Boot. So, like, UCLA is the hot team right now, but I don't want to sleep on LSU and what they bring to the table.
All right, guys, time to make the official pick for this game. Kyle, the smile. Is he ready to do battle once again? It certainly seems like it. Kyle?
Well, Joe mentioned not to sleep on LSU, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. He mentioned Derek Stingley Jr. and Eli Ricks. I think Chip Kelly's going to be in his bag for this game. New defensive coordinator on the other side. They're going to run a lot of tempo. I think they're going to run the ball with DTR quite a bit, and those two running backs that they have who went off against Hawaii. They had 244 rushing yards as a team. They played a tune-up game. Chip Kelly versus a new defensive coordinator who has not played a game yet, for a team that was in adverse practice conditions all week leading up to the game, and they run tempo, miscommunications. Give me UCLA at home.
I listen to my friends when they give me advice, and my friend Joe said, don't sleep on LSU. The alarm clock has gone off. There is no sleeping on LSU. Give me LSU minus the 3 today. Joe?
Yeah, I think LSU wins and they cover. Kyle makes good points, but I think LSU has enough answers on defense to handle this football game, and I love the experience they bring back on the offensive line.
That's it for the marquee picks here as we look at some of the featured matchups here in week 1 of the college football season. But a lot more picks still to be made here on the show. But guys, I want to have a quick conversation here because it is week 1. We haven't seen all of these teams play, and we can have kind of a broader conversation about both the Heisman futures with the season underway and then the college football playoff futures. So just kind of an open discussion roundtable, kind of opening up the forum here, because when I look at this, it really feels that there are a couple of guys that you could consider as top-tier candidates here for the Heisman. In fact, we're going to see, I think, 2 of those quarterbacks go head-to-head today when Georgia takes on Clemson. So, Kyle, when you look at this here in week 1, and I know we've had a couple of games be played in week 0 and at least the start of week 1 this week, but when you look at this, is there somebody that stands out to you as somebody that you're looking at as a Heisman favorite?
Yeah, so obviously the guys at the top of the list are there for a reason. It's because they play for national championship contenders and they play premier positions. So the guys like Spencer Rattler, I understand why they're there. But if I'm looking for like an odd that I really like, I look at DJ Uiagalelei at plus 1,200. And that really pops to me as like the happy medium between the two, where they are playing on a national championship contender. He is a premier position at the quarterback position. He's stepping in for Trevor Lawrence. They did lose Amari Rodgers. They did lose Travis Etienne. I think he's really going to have an opportunity to carry, and we got to see him last year. And he played really good against Notre Dame last year. So you saw him against one of the better defenses in the country. And Joe mentioned that schedule being really soft. I think he's going to put up monster numbers. So if I'm looking for like the value of the guys in the top 8 that I really like, Uiagalelei is the one that stands out to me.
And Kyle, I think that's a great point that you made there, that we saw him in a high-profile matchup against Notre Dame. It kind of makes you feel a little bit more comfortable looking at this Clemson team today against Georgia. Is he's been under the bright lights in a primetime matchup with the spotlight on him in a really tough spot, filling in for Trevor Lawrence, right? It wasn't like, it was a really tough spot to fill in on short notice for Trevor Lawrence, and he thrived in that environment. Joe, for you, when you look at this Heisman big board, anything stand out to you?
Yeah, let's roll with Bijan Robinson. I've seen him at plus 3,000. I mean, you saw what this guy was able to do last year, 8.2 yards per carry, obviously the hot finish to the year. And now you introduce Steve Sarkisian into this mix, who I think is one of the best offensive minds in football right now. And I know that he'll get the most out of Robinson. And then you add in the fact that they're playing in the Big 12 and, how much space there is to work with when it comes to Big 12 defenses. I think the numbers are going to be there for Robinson for sure.
Don't you slander the Big 12. I see what you're doing there. You're taking a shot. It's okay. Defense optional. I know that it is. Let's switch gears here and look at the college football playoff. And listen, I don't want to spend this portion of the show talking about, we're all going to pick Alabama at plus 260 to win the national championship. Let's look outside of those top teams here, guys, when we have this conversation. Kyle, I'll go to you here first. And I look at some of these teams that have longer than plus 1,000 odds to win the national championship. And there are a couple that I'm circling that I think are potentially interesting. When you look at this board, what do you see?
Texas A&M at plus 2,000 is, in my opinion, a good value. Are they the favorites? No. Would I predict them to? Probably not. But if the quarterback transfer there with getting away from Kellen Mond playing quarterback, the rest of this team is loaded. Like, they've got a lot of talent on both sides of the football. And at plus 2,000, it's tempting because they get both Alabama and Auburn this year at Kyle Field. The toughest road game that they have this season is November 27th against LSU as things currently stand. So they're going to get a chance. They play Kent State this weekend. They're going to get a chance to ease into a new quarterback for Jimbo Fisher's offense. But the rest of this team, like, his recruiting is really paying off in a big way. And at plus 2,000, I think that's a much better value proposition than taking Alabama at plus 260 or whatever it is.
That recruiting, Kyle, landed him, a 3-year contract extension down there in Texas A&M? He's doing so well there. They're
Jimbo
like,
knows
Jimbo,
how to recruit, man.
Yeah.
Why
don't you stick around for a little bit? Yeah, and listen, I think the big thing is if they can figure out the quarterback situation, there is talent across the board everywhere else that everyone's going to start to feel confident. Joe, any other teams stand out to you here?
Texas A&M is a great pick. If I went first, I might have picked them, but I'll go different here. And I know this isn't much of a hot take, but how about Oklahoma? They're fifth at plus 300, or excuse me, plus 800. And we Kyle mentioned the quarterback uncertainty when it comes to Texas A&M. I think we feel good about Spencer Rattler and what he can mean for that offense. And we talked about what they're bringing back on defense. I think they have a pretty clear path in the Big 12, and they're going to be able to score a lot of points. They'll be able to run the football. And so I think that the balance of Oklahoma this year is something that I'm willing to buy into.
Gentlemen, are you ready to go for two here on the program? Are we excited for these? No, you didn't do it earlier. You didn't do it earlier.
It's not hook 'em horns. We're going for two.
So coming up next here on the Money Down, the go for two, our best bold bets of the week coming up here on the Money Down, presented by BetPrep.
What's up, Jets fans? This is my first attempt at the 2022 NFL mock draft. And honestly, I'd be feeling pretty good if I was a Jets fan. I think you guys did an excellent job last season. Zach Wilson looks really good during the preseason. Elijah Moore's a dog. I'm a big fan of him. And now it's just trying to build a roster around Zach Wilson. And if I'm general manager to Joe Douglas, I look at the board right here, and I think it's a no-brainer. You got to go with cornerback Derek Stingley out of LSU. Stingley was in good contention to be the number one overall player in the TDN 100, and I think the world of this player from a size, athleticism, ball production, ball skills standpoint. He has everything you'd want in a lockdown corner, and that's something the Jets haven't been able to have since Darrelle Revis' prime, right? And when you think about Robert Saleh and the defense he's came from with Seattle and 49ers always having really talented defensive backs, I think it only makes sense to add one in Derek Stingley to New York. So I love the fit here with the Jets defense. I think you guys got a good one. Thank you guys for watching my mock draft. Please make sure you like and subscribe down below. Leave me some comments. What do you think? You love it? You hate it? Let me know, man. It's all good. Let me know.
Welcome back here to the Money Down presented by BetPrep here on the Draft Network YouTube channel. Guys, we're going to very quickly do our go for two picks. We're going to go in the same order that we did last time. Kyle, me, then Joe. And this could be whatever you want. You want to double down on a bet that you made a little bit earlier on in the show. You want to go completely off the board. That is totally up to you. So Kyle, your first go for two pick.
Yeah, first of all, your sources lied to you. Nobody on this panel was doing a mock draft read. So, that's why we're not in the inside information here.
Team, yeah.
My first go for two. I'm going for two on Cincinnati, minus 22.5, minus 23, whatever that line is sitting at right now, against Miami of Ohio. We said it earlier when we did the quick rundown. They've won this rivalry game the last 14 times they've played by an average of 20 points. Joe made the point to say the Cincinnati program is better than it's ever been. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Miami played 3 games last year, might be a little bit rusty. So because of that, because of the talent that Cincinnati has with TDN top 100 prospects in Myjai Sanders and Ahmad Sauce Gardner, and at quarterback with experience in Desmond Ridder, and one of the Joe Marino favorites, Josh Wiley at tight end, all of that stuff adds up for me. They've owned this rivalry. There's a talent discrepancy. I'm taking Cincinnati with the points to cover.
I went off the board here, gentlemen. I went with something that we didn't talk about earlier because I am going to sneak in every opportunity to talk about this team when I get the chance. West Virginia playing Maryland here today. I'm going to lay the 2.5 points and take the Mountaineers. And what, Joe? What, Joe?
I thought you were going to take the over. I was sitting in there in my head. I was like,
taken
he's
the
going
over
with
in
the
this
points.
Game. Yeah, take the over. Smart.
West Virginia minus 2.5. Neil Brown and company, they get the job done here, and they cover the 2.5. Joe, your first goal for two pick.
Yeah, I'm going to double down on the Wisconsin Badgers, minus 5.5 over Penn State. Penn State, not a great team in terms of the spread, 3-5-1 last year against the spread. Wisconsin is too good on defense, and I like what that offense is going to look like with a healthy Graham Mertz at quarterback. So give me those Badgers, minus 5.5.
All right, our second go for two selection. Kyle, where did you go for this one?
I am once again doubling down, going back to a game we talked about earlier. Boomer Sooner needs to cover nearly 5 touchdowns, but at the end of the day, we talked about adverse conditions. We have way too much talent discrepancy for these two teams for me to feel comfortable about anything other than taking Oklahoma.
I, again, off the board, did something a little funky. BYU minus 12.5 against the University of Arizona. There's a lot of optimism about the teams down there in Tucson with Jed Fish as the new head coach, but he still doesn't have his recruits in there yet. They're running with a 2-quarterback system. Listen, I know there's no Zach Wilson. No problem for BYU up there in Allegiant Stadium tonight. They covered the 12.5. Joe, your last pick.
Zach Wilson, no problem.
Listen, I'm all in on Clemson tonight, minus 3. Both teams are a little bit shorthanded, but Georgia's really shorthanded. They don't have Armstead at tight end. They're not going to have Tyke Smith, no George Pickens, obviously. And Clemson just has so much experience on defense. They have the firepower in the passing game. They need to make a statement. I'm all in on Dabo and the Tigers tonight.
That's it for the Go for Two segment. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to hope to be joined by BetPrep's Patrick Everson, a little bit of a breakdown here to close the show, and then we'll give you those bold bets. So we'll do that next here on the Money Down presented by BetPrep.
What's up, Giants fans? This is Brentley Wiseman, and this is my 2022 NFL mock draft. Man, I think the Giants are in a bit of a pickle here. I mean, this is really a make-or-break year for quarterback Daniel Jones, a guy who I like a little more than the average media member. I actually think he'll surprise some people this year and prove that he was worthy of the number 6 overall pick back in, I think it was 2019. But I do think there's a lot of work to be done with the Giants roster. I was a little disappointed with last year's draft. I thought Kadarius Toney was honestly a terrible pick, but we'll try to do a little better here in 2022. I'm giving you guys USC's edge rusher, Drake Jackson. I think he's a long, fluid, explosive player off the edge. I think he's versatile. He can be a stand-up 3-4 outside linebacker. You see him drop into coverage a bit. Looks fluid in space. Really good run defender with effort and length. I think this is the exact kind of player that Joe Judge would want because the defense is such a multiple-facing front that Jackson's versatility would make a lot of sense. Thank you guys for watching my mock draft. Please make sure you like and subscribe down below. Leave me some comments. What do you think? You love it? You hate it? Let me know, man. It's all good. Let me know.
Down presented by BetPrep here on the Draft Network YouTube channel. And speaking of BetPrep, we are now joined here on the program from BetPrep. Patrick Everson joining us here on the program for the BetPrep breakdown. It's easy for me to say. Patrick, welcome to the program. We know you're going to be joining us here each and every week throughout the college season. And I'll open it up. The floor is yours, my friend. If there's a game in particular that we've been talking about that you want to join the conversation in on, a lot of marquee matchups here in week 1 of the college season.
Thanks for having me on. Also, more on the props.com side than the BetPrep side. Props.com just getting off the ground, so we're excited about that. Give us a follow on Twitter at PropsUS. Obviously, Georgia Clemson, I assume you guys have touched on that pretty heavily.
Yeah.
And that is a hugely bet game on both sides. I was talking about this with Scott Shelton at BetMGM Nevada. And Georgia has the 3rd most tickets on the spread of any team on the board this week. And Clemson is right behind him at number 5. So there's more tickets on Georgia at BetMGM Nevada. And again, that would be BetMGM's books up and down Las Vegas Boulevard. But Clemson not very far behind. And this is a game that has not moved much. It was Clemson -3.5 to open, or -3.5 to open, down to -3. And Scott said a few more tickets and a few more dollars on Georgia, but a really well bet 2-way game. And then obviously Alabama-Miami coming up even sooner than that. And Alabama out to 20 at BetMGM Nevada. And it's Alabama actually has the most tickets, number 1 in point spread ticket count this week at BetMGM Nevada. But and that's a 2-to-1 count in favor of Alabama against Miami. Although Scott said, look, Miami's got quite a few tickets. There's just a ton of tickets on this game. But money on the spread, it's all Alabama 8-to-1. And on top of that, parlays, moneyline parlays, teasers, everybody's got Alabama in there. And don't be surprised, just off experience of the past couple of years, that a lot of people are going to jump on Alabama first half spread. That's been a real popular play the last couple of seasons.
Listen, I don't want to put you on the spot, Patrick, but going back to that Georgia-Clemson game, and I'm just asking for a friend, is there more money on the over or the under in that football game? Again, asking for a friend, but I just want to know where the money is in that football game.
No, that's okay. Understood. It's kind of it's interesting. The total, as you've probably seen and discussed, has dropped quite a bit. And again, this is going to vary from book to book, but off the inside I got from Scott Shelton at BetMGM Nevada, as this total went from 65 to 61.5. He said tickets of money are actually almost dead even. So interesting movement considering that it's 50-50 play at this point. I think as they got down to that number, it started to help even things out a little bit. But
Patrick, I think you broke Chris's heart there.
Listen, I went out on a limb trying to back my own point up, and it blew up in my face. That one's on me. I accept that. Patrick, I guess big picture here, week 1 of the college football season, are we seeing more action than normal here at the start of the season, or is it in line with what we've seen in years past?
Oh, you know what? I'm sure it's actually more. This is last season was such a letdown. Generally speaking, it didn't really start on time, and there were games getting canceled and moved, and nobody could go to the game. No fans in the stands, and you couldn't. And honestly, all the big sports books here in Vegas, you couldn't really have much in the way of attendance, limits on bodies, and so forth. So, from what I'm hearing, I would have to infer that it's up significantly. People really, really excited for college football to get underway, and I'm sure it's going to be doubly so next weekend when you get the double whammy of college and a full slate of NFL regular season. It seems like people are pretty pumped, and there's a lot of tickets and money out there on a lot of these games today.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I know we are certainly excited about it here on this program, and I know that you're going to be joining both us every week here on the Money Down College Football Show, but also the Money Down NFL Show, which is starting next Sunday. So you're going to have all the insight, all of the information for both crews here over at the Money Down. So what can everybody expect to hear from you here on a weekly basis when you join the program?
What you'll get from me on a weekly basis is hopefully, within an hour or so of kickoffs, or really even closer to that, as we're talking right now with these college kickoffs coming right up, is just the latest from behind the counter at sportsbooks across the country, here in Las Vegas and a lot of the other jurisdictions, New Jersey and so forth, a lot of these other jurisdictions that other sportsbooks serve. Just what's going on behind the counter, hopefully where the sharp money is, where the public money is, the line movements, why the line's moving, the major wagers and so forth, all that stuff that can hopefully help you see why the lines and odds are going the way they are, and help you go to the counter, help your viewers and listeners go to the counter and make a more informed wager.
Patrick, we appreciate you joining us. And again, like I said, you're going to be with us each and every football weekend here on both the college show with us and then on the NFL show as well. So we really do appreciate it, you and everybody over there at BetPrep. So thanks for joining us for a few minutes here today. You betcha. You guys have an awesome Saturday. All right, guys, it's that time. It is time for the bold bets here on the show. And Kyle has been prepared this whole time. He's been ready for this one. I know he has, because we're going out on a limb with these. The go for two, the ones we're really confident in. These the bold take bets, these could backfire a little bit. So Kyle, where are we going here in the bold take bet portion of the show?
We're going out west. We're going to Nevada +3 versus Cal. And I've got Nevada not only with the points, but winning this game outright. Wolfpack returning 10 starters on each side of the football. They get a bunch of NFL talent on the offensive side of the ball with quarterback Carson Strong, wide receiver Romeo Doubs, tight end Cole Turner, offensive tackle Aaron Frost. That's a lot of NFL talent on this Nevada offense that was very efficient last year. Plus, this is a revenge game for Carson Strong, who Cal passed on in the recruiting process. They said he was too raw. He's going to have something to prove. Cal lost 9 starters on defense, including their best player, first-team All-Pac-12 corner, Cameron Bynum. Give me Nevada to win the game outright.
The Carson Strong Hive loves this pick. They're loving what you're doing here. Not only Nevada +3, but he doubles down and says Nevada money line. I love it. Absolutely love it. Speaking of bold takes, I have decided I'm fading Oregon today, boys and girls. Fresno State plus the 20. Give me the Bulldogs plus 20. Okay. This Fresno State team, no slouch. Last year, I think they were 23rd in passing success. Defensively, they can do just enough to slow down this inexperienced Oregon team. Again, I think Oregon wins the game, but I think a backdoor cover is in my future here. So Fresno State, the bold take bet for me here on the show. Joe?
All right, I'm doubling down on a game here. I'm going Indiana to go into Iowa, win the game outright, and give me the over on 46 points, which is crazy to go with the over in a Big Ten football game. But Indiana's passing offense can dictate the pace of play. They're going to force Iowa to open it up, and points will be scored in Iowa today.
There you have it, the bold take bets. And just to let everybody know, we are going to have leaderboards for all of these things. So those premier matchups that you're going to see, we're keeping track of how well we do with these. We're going to keep track with the go for two bets to see how well we are when we double down on a bet. Oh, we have the go for two leaderboard already ready to go. I didn't know that the production team had already worked on this, but why am I in third place? I haven't. No one's made a bet yet. Alphabetical order says Chris should be at the top. What is the production team doing to me? alphabetical order, Chris should be first here on the list, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. With the Go for Two leaderboard, the bold takes, bold bets leaderboard, we're going to have all that for you. And like I said, and I'm going to tease it as often as I can, every Saturday, the three of us are going to be here, the Money Down presented by BetPrep. And then there's a Sunday NFL version of this show as well that will get you ready for NFL games, spreads, totals, player props, everything that you need in order to bet the NFL calendar accordingly. So super excited about the launch of this show. Guys, had a great time talking football with you gentlemen, and we're going to do this each and every Saturday, so I'm super excited about it. Any final thoughts real quick? You got about 15 seconds each. Kyle, final thoughts as we enter week one.
Boomer Sooner, let's go, man. That's it. That's final thoughts right there.
Okay, doubles down on the Boomer Sooner. Okay, Joe, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I like Houston -1.5 and Marshall -2.5 today if you're looking for some bonus bets.
My guy comes at you in the last 15 seconds with bonus picks that he didn't clear with us ahead of time. I absolutely love it. Everybody, enjoy week one of the college football action. We'll be back next week to get you ready for week 2 of the college season and then week 1 of the NFL season. Thanks for joining us here on the Money Down presented by BetPrep. Enjoy the games. We'll talk to you next weekend.